What's up, guys? We are back in Planet Coaster with another episode of Aquaterra. Yes, this is episode 3 already. That's so insane. My internet is now back. I'm all moved into my new house. Thank God for that. I can't tell you how horrible it is to not have internet for 2 weeks when you primarily use the internet every single day of your life. You don't quite realize how important that little internet is until it gets disconnected. Oh, it's a nightmare, but finally the lines are in, my internet seems to be working well. I'm with a new provider. I've got the best internet I've ever had in my life, so that means faster downloads on games and hopefully faster uploads. Because previously I would have to upload during the night time while I'm asleep and schedule stuff because my internet was so bad at uploading. But now I have pretty good uploads, so hopefully I can get more videos online for you guys. I won't have to worry about scheduling stuff anymore. So that's all good news. That's all good news for me. But yes, we are back with another episode of Aquaterra. Some people asked what Aquaterra meant. I don't think I said what Aquaterra meant in the last episode. But for anyone wondering, Aquaterra is Latin for water island or waterland. So that's what it means. And it sounded pretty good, Aquaterra. So there we go. That's the name of the park. First time I've actually tried to be creative with the name of my parks. But yeah, so in today's episode we are once again back working on this kind of like entranceway to this park. If you haven't seen episode 1 and 2, I would highly recommend you go watch it. It explains a lot about this park, why I'm doing this park, what the park's going to be, how the park's going to work, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, in today's episode we're working more heavily on this entrance. I believe the next episode we should get this finished. I've already completed this. It's just editing and uploading for you guys. But yeah, I think in the next episode we should get this island done. If not, it will be the next episode after that. So probably about 4, maybe 5 episodes total for this first island, and then we'll go on to the mainland, the main part of the park, and we'll start building up there. Not really too sure what themes I'm going to go with yet with the mainland. This first island has kind of been medieval slash pirate. As you'll see, more and more piratey kind of theme and creeps its way into this first little island over the next episode or 2. But don't worry too much, it kind of blends in quite nicely. I think I did a good job. You guys will have to let me know, as you always do. If you spot something you don't like in any of my builds, any of my videos, do let me know, because criticisms and constructive criticism, should I say, in the comments section do really help me and other people as well, probably on their videos. So if you have anything critical you want to say without just outright telling me it's shit, because I don't listen to that stuff, that is really helpful. So do definitely get your ideas in the comments section. It helps me out a lot, and I do listen to them and I do reply and all that good stuff. So as you can see, we're working heavily on this pathway. This pathway is going to be one of the main ways to get to the mainland of the park. Obviously, if you don't want to get on the monorail, you can jump on this path and cross across to the other side. So at this point, they've already paid for their tickets. They're already technically in the park, so they can go whichever way they want. If they want to get on the ride, they can do that. If they want to just walk simply over, which I'm guessing most people are going to, there's that nice path there. So originally that path was quite small, but I ended up changing it for a little bit of a larger path. The small path was great. I just had fears of bottlenecking, too many people trying to get over. And it's not a one-way path. There's no one-way paths in this game, so you can't have it so people can only go that way but not come back, which is something maybe they should think about in this game. I'm not really too sure how common one-way pathing is in theme parks. I guess it doesn't really exist, not that I've seen anyway, but it would help a lot, because there's a lot of places in parks where bottlenecking happens because people trying to go one way and they're coming the other way, and it all just having a one-way path system would be great. But this game isn't City Skyline, so maybe that wouldn't be a good idea. I don't know, you guys have to let me know. Anyway, this path, the other side obviously was on the slope towards the water, so a lot of rock work went in that side to cover up the gap between the floor and the path. The other side wasn't so lucky to have water on that side, so I decided to go with like a wooden plank system. As you can see, it's pretty much complete at this point. I cut a lot of that out of the video just because you guys don't want to see me place these beams for 40 minutes, because that's no fun. But there you go, you can see it right there. It looks pretty good. We get some more little rocks and stuff around there as decoration a little bit later on. But I think it looks pretty good. As you can see, we have also added this nice Victory, I think that's what it's called, the wooden boat ride. I wish there was different skins for this. I know there's a sci-fi pretty much version of the same boat, but it goes over the top. Goes around 360, I believe. That's not really what I was after, so I had to go with the boat. Looked pretty good. I just wish there was less piratey theming on there, or if there was like a different style of boat, that would be fantastic. Because once you put this in, you're kind of bound into the kind of piratey theme. So that's what I did. I put that in, and then the more and more I kept building, I was realizing I was adding more stuff that looked piratey. Not that that's a problem, but that wasn't the original theme I was going for. But this was the perfect ride for this spot in the park, so that's why I went for that ride just there. And I think it looks pretty good. We do some decorations on that later and in the next episode as well to kind of fit that in, because it's not just a one-sided view. You can see the whole sides, all four sides of that ride. So I wanted to make sure everywhere you stand in this park, if you can see that ride, you want to see some theming. I don't want to leave any areas unthemed, because, well, that's not a good idea. So the other side obviously backs on to where the monorail comes past, so I want to make sure there's loads and loads of detailing over on that side as well. Otherwise the guests are going to be like, what the hell, we can see underneath this ride. That's not what I want to go for. So as you can see, more and more wood is going in now. I wanted to really heavily decorate this queue line, because this queue line gets seen as you're leaving this area. So I believe this original island has 1, 2, 3 total rides if you include the monorail. We do build a roller coaster at the end of today's episode, so stay tuned for that. That's pretty interesting. It turned out really well, actually. I was actually quite impressed with what I ended up coming up with. A really simple design that I went for with that coaster, as you'll see a little bit later on, but it works really well. And there was a reason why I used the coaster that I used, but I'll explain that a little bit later on. So as you can see, this lovely pathway is now coming into fruition. We're getting some trees, getting some bushes, getting some decorations, filling in extra little gaps here and there with some rocks, making sure that everything just looks finished. I don't want anything to look half-assed or unfinished, because you do see that a lot in some parks. In real life, and it kind of ruins the immersion. You know, when you're in there, you get in the immersion, you're like, yeah, this is fantastic, and then you see like some dustbins or something, those really big biffa bins outside the back of a restaurant, or you can see back into like a stage area or something. Although cool to see into like a stage area, sometimes it can ruin the immersion for you. So I don't want any of that kind of stuff in this park. At least not in this entranceway. We probably will do stage buildings or backstage buildings later on the mainland if we need them, but they won't be on view to the guests. None of the guests are going to see any of that stuff, hopefully, if I do my job correctly. So yeah, now we come to the backside of the Victory. We are going to need names for all these rides, so if you guys want to come up with some names for these rides, feel free to comment them in the comment section. That's one thing I never do with this game. I never name anything. Like, I don't actually go into their settings and change their names or anything. And I know a lot of people do that. So if you guys come up with some good names for these flat rides, I will quite happily name them what you come up with. So please do comment that in the comment section below. But as you can see, we are decorating this ride. Unfortunately, there's like some weird thing in Planet Coaster where it doesn't like your rides to be too close to the water. So we couldn't lower this down anymore. I wanted it to kind of be flush with the water. It's a boat, you want it as close to the water as possible. But Planet Coaster has this really weird thing where sometimes it lets you, sometimes it doesn't. It's really strange and annoying and frustrating at times, but you just have to get used to it and deal with it. So that's what I did. Having said that, you can actually put a ride completely under the water if you want to. If you want like an underwater city, you can do that. You can just dig like a massive hole, fill it with water, and then build all of your flat rides underneath it. It lets you do that. Don't ask me why, but it does. But as you guys know, water is 1 pixel thick in this game, so that doesn't really matter anyway. So more and more detail here on this flat ride. Like I said, I really want to get as much detailing in as I can in this first area, because this area is the entrance way to the park. This is the first thing the guests see when they come into the park, and if you give them a bad feel when they first come into the park, they're either not going to come back to the park again, or they're just going to leave straight away. If I go to a park in real life and it doesn't grab me straight away, it gives me bad vibes for the rest of the day, and it takes a lot to kind of fix that, especially if it's the first time I've ever been to a park. You want that the first thing that the guests see, you want it to be great. You want to be able to see like big rides. You want to see good decoration, good theming as soon as you enter. Even the gate into the park is a tell on whether the park's going to be good. If you drive up to a park you've never been to before and the main gates are really tacky, they're falling apart, they're kind of small and dilapidated, you know, you're probably not going to have a great park behind those gates. If you go to a park, I know this isn't always the case, but if you go to a park and there's a fantastic gate out the front, more than likely you're going to have a really good park experience once you enter. I know I'm talking from experience in the UK, and like obviously I don't have the same experience as everyone else from around the world, but yeah, it's kind of like the first thing you judge when you meet someone for the first time. You instantly judge them. They say within 11 seconds you judge someone when you first meet them. So you want that first impression to be a good one, and that's what I want it to be for the entrance of my park. I want it to be a really good first impression, because if it's crap, then you know they're probably not going to have as good a time as they would do if their first impression was good, because they're going into it with negative feelings, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's that ride. That's pretty much all of the decorations I do in today's episode for this ride. But I believe in the next episode a lot more detail ends up going into this victory ride, because I wasn't happy with it. I got to this point and I was like, you know what, that's good. That's good. I could probably stop there and get away with it, and the guests would probably really like it. But I wasn't happy myself. So I do go back in with this ride in the next episode and just finish off the decorations, get it all complete, get it, you know, above perfect. Alright, so here we are. I said we were building a coaster in today's episode, and I wasn't lying. But, as you can see, it's not a thrill coaster, it's a kids coaster. And there is a reason why I put a kids coaster on the first island, because if you have children, and you only have really young children, you don't want to have to walk all the way to the back of the park to get your kids on the only coaster that they can fit on. So why not have the younger rides at the front of the park? So then the people that only have young children don't have to go as far into the park as everyone else. So put a kids ride up the front. It looks pretty good. It looks good. I designed it so it looks great. This is a ride that anyone could get on. It's not a kids only ride, but it does cater a lot to the younger children. So it looks pretty good, and it fits well with this first little island. There's nothing too adult like in this first island. Of course, we've got the victory boat ride, we got the monorail, that's not really a scary thing, and this coaster. So this coaster is pretty small. I think it takes like 30 maybe 40 seconds for a lap, not even. It's not that fast. It goes like 20 maybe 30 miles an hour pushing it, and it has a really good throughput, so it's going to get a lot of people through this coaster every single hour. As long as people are willing to jump on this, it's going to have a really high throughput, and that's really good. That's great for the entrance of the park. It doesn't take up too much space, but what it does do is give a little bit of depth to the side of the island, space that would otherwise be unused, and just be a lake. Space that is now being occupied by a coaster that everyone that comes into the park can jump on and can have a really good time. So it's a perfect match for this first island. I know a lot of people probably won't like having this at the beginning of my park, but I think it's a really good way to fill the space. There was nothing else I could have fit here. There wasn't really enough room here for another flat ride. Maybe I could have put a small like Ferris wheel here or something, but I just thought that this coaster was probably the best bet. And a little POV there, but it is fast forward, so you guys aren't getting the juicy POV-ness from that. At the end of the next episode, once the whole of this island is done, I will do a nice slow-mo video of this first island and also add the POV from this coaster. If you're interested, let me know in the comment section. I'll make sure I do that so you guys can take a little ride. Like I said, it's only like 30 seconds, not even a minute long. But it is a really good coaster and it has some good stats on it. And I think it's probably going to attract more families to the park, which is really good. Really, really good. So obviously decoration around this ride is underway, as you can see. Once again, I've opted to have these weird like stacks of rocks. I don't know where I was coming from when I decided to use these like stacks of rock, but I was thinking like medieval Stonehenge-y kind of like weird rock stacks. Like, how did that even become a thing? Why is it there? What's the purpose of it? No one really knows what Stonehenge is for. That's kind of what I was going for, the like mystery element, you know. Why are those stones stacked? Is it like a magic thing? Is it a mystical thing? Is it to do with like ancient monks or aliens or like, just, it gives more questions than it answers, which is great, because if you can get guests thinking about your theming, it's doing its job right. So the weirder, the wackier, the better sometimes, and that is why I did these weird stacks of rocks, and they look pretty cool. And I think more parks in the world should start building random stacks of rock, because I think they look pretty darn cool. Anyway, trees, bushes, foliage, all going in on the side of this coaster. Just got to make sure that all of this area is themed. We don't want anyone looking back into like car park areas or anything like that. Like I said, we want to keep the immersion high. We don't want that to be broken at all by people seeing stuff they shouldn't be seeing. So making sure I've got trees where they should be, bushes where they should be, and spraying the terrain is really important to me. I hate just having that green grass. I hate the solid green grass. If it's completely solid green, I'll go in even like a little bit of rock texture, a little bit of sand, or even the fallen leaf texture is really good to break up that kind of like really light green color that you just automatically get when you start a park. I hate it. I think it's disgusting. And I try and avoid it at all costs. A little bit of it in patches is fine, but just like having a whole island, just that one singular green color, it's not realistic. You wouldn't see that in real life. Maybe you would have a field, but the field isn't always the same color. You got dark areas, you got light areas, you got a little bit of extra sand over here, you got some fallen leaves and bushes over here. You know, you want to kind of mix it up a bit. You don't want it all one singular tone, at least for me anyway. So yeah, as you can see, I'm always spraying the terrain. Every time I add something, if I add a rock, if I add a tree, I always go back in and try and edit those sprays a little bit. Because obviously around the bases of trees, you're going to have dark areas. You're going to have areas that aren't as fresh as an open grass you would find in the middle of a field. So maybe some fallen leaves down there, maybe a little touch of sand if it's closer to the water. You know, just, it's in the little details. It's in the little details, I find. And as you'll see, if you've watched my videos for a long time, I'm always tinkering around with the terrain tools. But yeah, we are nearly done with episode 3. The last thing I do in today's episode is start working on this wall. So this is the exit to the roller coaster. When people jump off this coaster, they're going to come obviously down here and exit back into the main area of this little island. So this is obviously a normal pathway. So I do end up putting some benches and some bins and stuff along here. This wall actually gets edited in the next episode, so don't look too much into this. This wall changes quite drastically by the end of next episode. But yeah, once again, just making sure that you can't see underneath this pathway when you're on the monorail. It's little details like that that I make sure that I try and complete. So there we are, guys. That's the end of Aquaterra build episode number 3. Make sure you tune back in within the next couple of days for episode 4, which I believe is going to be in a couple of days, and we're going to be finishing this area in the park. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, remember to drop a like. Feel free to subscribe if you're new, and of course I will see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Bye.